I can only assume that it will be the Angama pride. This is their favorite areas. Maybe the Olololos have joined up. So, sorry, I was just receiving some intel here. Apparently there's some technical difficulties. Periscope is up on Twitter, so you're welcome to watch via that. Apparently the stream has not come up yet on YouTube, so we do apologize for this. Our technical geniuses are working on it at the moment. I don't know if we're going to stay in the sighting. There are many vehicles here, and unfortunately they're not in an off-road area that we can sort of drive around in, and they keep disappearing into the bushes. So we'll probably try and snake our way through. Oh, that's beautiful with a balloon. We'll snake our way through all the cars, and then I think let's go and have a look for the Sausage Tree Pride, my favorite Pride of Lions in the Mara. Well, my favorite Pride so far. I do enjoy that. That's fantastic. Now take all the screenshots you can take, because that's not a very common sight. For seeing as though we're in the Mara, we'll be lucky enough to see that every now and then, but to get perfect timing with a lion and a balloon, that is quite special. So share them with us. That would actually make a really great wallpaper or screensaver. Isn't that cool? Okay, let's move on though. They are moving into a thicketed area. Let's try and jump above the rush and see if we can get through here. And we'll hopefully go and find some other lions. Oh, okay. I'm going to go past everyone. I just want to make sure these guides know we're here so that nobody suddenly turns up. Right, let's carry on. It's a bit difficult to try and work around here. We're on one of the main roads, so we can give everybody who's very excited a chance to have a look, and we'll go and try and find some lions in an area that we can off-road in, and who knows what else we might see. I believe the Sausage Tree Pride were on a zebra kill, so hopefully they will have eaten everything and resting up, and who knows, maybe we get some daytime action. But Tristan is awake. He's wiping the sleep from his eyes. I always say, doing a big stretch. Nothing feels greater than a good stretch. Let's go say good morning to him.
Good morning everybody, and welcome to our sunrise safari from a windy, blustery, cold Djuma game reserve. It really is very cold this morning and very windy. Now, as Taylor mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera today I've got a sensor, and so it is live, it is interactive. YouTube is back up and running, so you can get hold of us in the YouTube chat or on #SafariLive. Now, we are in the area where we had Tumba yesterday. We're just having a little look around. With this windy weather, our way of doing things is going to have to change slightly. We've got very gusty winds, and that means that a lot of the animals are going to try and hide out from this wind. So they're going to head into areas where it's denser, it's thicker, it's where they can try and just kind of get out of it, because the wind is cold as well. If it was a warmer wind, not so bad, but it really has been blowing a gale during the night, and so I'm sure a lot of animals have sought refuge. So it's going to be a tough morning for us at Djuma. I don't think we're going to have the busiest of mornings like we've been having. When it gets cold like this and you get sudden temperature change with strong winds, that makes life often a lot harder. So it's going to be an interesting just to see the difference, and we're going to head through the Mulawati just to see, because down here it'll be a little bit more sheltered, and leopards like Tumba can at least get into one of these thickets and just lie down and try and rest and get out of this wind. I'm also trying to look for any signs of Tundi coming back towards where Tumba was. Maybe she's come to pick him up and take him towards a carcass. Last night would have been a good time to hunt. When that wind gusts like that, it really is often a very good time for the predators, and they make use of it, and they will hunt effectively during that time. So it is a good time to look around for kills as well, and carcasses. So hopefully there will be something around for us. But what there is in front of us is a Nyala bull that I can see already. So somewhere we should be able to see it shortly. Just got to get through this debaucherous track exercise that we have here in the Mulawati from yesterday's mating leopards. There's so many sort of footprints or tire tracks that it's causing a little bit difficult to actually drive. So our Nyala bull is just in front. We'll get to him now, and hopefully he'll stay where he is. Looks like a beautiful example of a Nyala bull. I'm hoping, like I say, that he'll actually just sit still, because often Nyalas are a bit that way inclined, as you get close to them and then they decide, no, I don't want to be here, I'm going to disappear. And with the wind, his whole coat has actually been blown around, and he looks as though he's actually practicing philo erection, but it's more, I think, the wind than anything else that's causing him to kind of lift all of his hairs and for the hairs to be blown all over the place. But isn't he magnificent? I find Nyala males are really some of the most beautiful antelope that we see here in the Sabi sands. They are big and bulky, and they've got this chocolate brown coat with long fur, those little light colored legs as well, and it is a sort of exotic appearing animal. I always like seeing the Nyalas. There we go, look at that, big ears, big eye, white markings, and you can see how on edge the animals are, causing them to really be a bit wary of what's going on. They're checking around, looking, ears are out, and every gust of wind is causing a lot of noise, and that must be so difficult for these antelope, especially something like a nyala or a kudu that relies so heavily on its hearing. When you've got a situation where the wind is gusting like this, it must make it really difficult to be able to hear what's happening and to actually stay alive, really. So tough times for our antelopes over the next couple of days. I think there's a cold front that's coming in because the temperature is dropping rapidly, and it's a few cold overcast days coming apparently, and maybe even a chance of a little bit of rain, which will be quite nice. A bit of rain will certainly be very welcome in this area given how dry it is. But you can see this nyala is almost rooting around through the dry leaves. I wonder what it's looking for. Maybe there's some little shoots of plants going in. Remember, these guys are not grazers, so they're not going to be eating grass, and you can see he's actually not picked up anything there. I wonder if there's something else, little seeds maybe, that are in these areas. Must be little seeds, I wonder. I'm just trying to see what plant is above it. There's a couple of leadwoods around that might have dropped some seed pods. There's also a few tambuertes, but they haven't seeded yet, so it can't be them. But it's definitely something that it's found. Maybe some guarri flowers. It's sitting under a guarri tree at the moment, so it could be nibbling on those nice nectar-rich guarri flowers. And particularly with wind like this, we'll find that a lot of the flowers would have been blown off the plant and are now sitting on the floor. And so you can see, look, he's actually going towards the guarri tree and sniffing around, so maybe he's going to feed off that guarri bush. So that's the guarri I was talking about. It's amazing how delicate it is when it's feeding. Look how it's sniffing. And as I've said, it's not a grazer, it's now eating grass, which is ridiculous. They don't really eat grass, they're supposed to be browsing animals, but well, if you're this nyala, you're a bit confused. It's amazing how often animals do this. You'll say that they don't do things, and then they do them. I remember once the guy that was training us, he was telling us about a story, and he's a very experienced individual who's spent many years in the bush and gone all over the place. And he was once telling guests how male lions or young male lions that are like 2-3 years old will not mate with anyone, and as he said, that this male lion got up and mated with his mother. So these things do happen from time to time. We get some confused individuals every now and then. Says there's a bird of prey that's about to come out. I don't know if you're going to catch it in time, but it looks like a Wahlberg's eagle that's just flying ever so quickly over the tree line. There it goes. There it is. So it looks like a Wahlberg's eagle. And off. Now I wonder if that's not the pair that nests closer towards Twin Dams. Maybe we'll head down that area and try and see if we can find or catch up with those Wahlbergs. I wonder if they've started constructing their nest yet. Janine, in terms of animals that prefer cold and the wind, not really many. I mean, the cats will use it at night to hunt because it's much easier to be able to basically hunt, and it's much easier to get closer to animals. So they use it at night, but during the day, if they haven't found anything and there's no opportunity to hunt, you'll find they're just going to curl up into a ball. So there's no real animals that prefer cold weather like this. You find if it's cool weather, no wind, yes, then animals are fairly active, but cool weather like this with cold wind is the worst kind of game viewing weather that we can have out here. Nothing really enjoys this. You're being gusted on by this howling wind, and it's miserable. It's really not a nice sort of feeling to be out here. Like I say, we'll find most of our animals will be tucked into little balls somewhere, trying to just hide out, or trying to get a little bit more dense bush now that the sun is rising, try and just get out of it. Now I'm going to go back up towards Twin Dams Road because there's no sign of Hosana walking around in this area, so maybe he's still up on this side somewhere. So we'll just check slowly along the banks here and see if there isn't a track, because if there isn't, it means that he's still inside this block that is in front of me. That's where we left him last night. This is napping. I did go check exactly where we left him last night, but there's no sign of him there, so I'm sure he is around here somewhere. It's just about finding his tracks at some point. I would imagine though that this is his area that he likes to spend a bit of time. He likes to kind of go into these areas, and we're right where we had him for those few days that time where he had the elephant encounter. What are these? Hold on. No. These are just very old baboon tracks that are there. Baboon tracks often can look a bit like a leopard track just because of the way that the feet, especially the front foot, it's got this little B at the back of it for baboon, and those can be a little bit tough to see. It almost looks like the three lobes of a leopard track. Just checking around very slowly because all these areas is where I've seen Tumba before, but the problem with this wind is that we're not going to see them up on termite mounds or trees, which means that it's a lot harder to see them. If they're down in the ground, it's really quite tough. The grass is long, it's thick, whereas when they're on mounds and things like that, it makes it much easier for us to actually spot them from a distance. So hopefully we'll pick up some sort of sign of him, but it doesn't look like he walked anywhere. The other thing about last night is this wind has blown so much that all the roads look smooth. There's very little tracks that are actually on the road. It all looks quite disturbed, and so determining freshness of tracks is going to be quite tough. Right. Some impalas. Hello, impalas. Impala's got a little fright that I stopped so close to them. You can see they're all puffed up and wearing their jersey like I am. They erect their fur, and called philo-erection, and that just helps to trap air against the body and help to keep these guys warm and creates an insulating layer. But look how nervous they are. You see how they're trotting away from me? They're kind of looking around a little bit, not sure about what's going on. It's too windy for them to really be able to hear, and so that makes them a lot more nervous than they should be. So, well, than they would be normally, and they're moving away, and you can see, look how they stop and start, and they look, and ears are moving, and they're trying to kind of work out what's going on around them. Once they've looked around a bit and realized that we're not trying to hunt them, then they start to relax just a little bit. Even then, they're still a bit jumpy when the wind really gusts like it's doing now. There you go. You see how they just run when the wind blows. Paula, you're asking if the impalas prefer certain type of plants. Well, they will prefer certain things. Oh, hang on a second. We've got the Wahlberg's eagle's busy building its nest, so it's just redoing it. It's one of the pale form ones, so it's the one that we must have seen flying over just now. So it's on its nest at the moment, and it looks like it was just adding a few twigs, so just doing a bit of maintenance from all the sort of winter time where twigs have been disturbed. But there's our Wahlberg's eagle sitting on top, and yes, it is a pale form. So this is a different pair to the pair that we saw yesterday morning at the start of Sunrise Safari, because they nest up near Wahlberg's Road and Gowrie Dam, and then this is the one down near Twin Dams. And it's interesting that we've got pale forms at both those nests. Pale forms are not the most common of the Wahlberg's color morphs, and so to have two pale form nesting pairs is pretty special. I wonder, she had a stick in her mouth just now, or he, it's difficult to say whether it's a female or a male, but they had a stick in their mouth and it was busy kind of jabbing it into that nest and just getting it all sorted. But great to see that they're here, unfortunately being blown a bit by the wind. Although it looks like quite a solid nest that they've built themselves there. And I wonder when we're going to see the eggs being laid. It would be really nice. And off she goes. You can see how quickly that wind took her as she kind of left the nest and off she went. Now, in terms of the impalas favoring certain plants, well, it will depend on the time of the year. Sometimes impalas will be favoring, they try and target seeding or flowering plants quite a lot. So in, let's say, the time when the sausage tree is flowering, they'll go and sit under the sausage tree and eat all those flowers that have fallen. Or in a case where the bush willows flower or the guaris flower, that will mean that they'll go after that. When the rains come, then you'll find that the impalas start to move towards grass, and they start to eat the seeds of the grass and actually feed off the green grass. And that's why impalas are one of the reasons why they're so successful, is that they are a mixed feeder. So they're not a grazer or a browser, they're able to feed off both, and therefore they can get nutrients at any time of the year really, and they can find what they're looking for. So it's a clever way to survive if you are an impala. Right, still no tracks for Tamba anywhere here. I think he's curled up in a little ball somewhere close to, well, in a thicket somewhere off Twin Dams Road. I doubt there's any leopard that's going to be out here at Twin Dams itself. It's really quite windy out here, and so I don't think they're going to want to be in this area. You never know though, sometimes it does happen. And I wonder when the lions are going to come back. We've had so many leopards around, but lions have been very scarce. We've seen very few lions over the past few days. We had that great sighting of the little Nkuhuma cubs, but since then there's been nothing. No roars. We haven't seen many signs of the Birmingham males either. They've been fairly quiet, so I don't know where they're all gone. Maybe today is the day they come back. It would be nice if they did. We'll meander our way to the north just now and see what's going on. I've heard some guys chatting on the radio about something, but I turned the radio down because I was trying to listen to what was going on Megan's side. So I believe a lot of you are hoping to see some kitties in the chilly weather. Well, like I say, I think Djuma is going to be a tough place this morning. It's not going to be like it's been over the past few weeks. We're really probably going to have a tough time of it in finding any animals today. We'll find some of the antelope, but even then they're going to be a bit nervous and skittish, and so it's going to be a tough morning in the office, I think. We're going to have our work cut out for us, but if we can just find tracks, then that will help us. Brenda, no, leopards are not going to go crawling into a termite mound if it's too windy to go and kind of shelter from the wind. You'll find what they'll do normally is they'll just go and lie on the side of the termite mound where the wind isn't coming from. So they lie low down and try and get in there and try and just sort of block the wind with the termite mound. That's what they will do, but they won't go inside a mound itself. Unless they're little cubs and they've been left there by mom, then they'll go in, much like the hyenas do, or even lion cubs will do that. But generally, no, they try and kind of stay out of the mounds because they don't know what's inside there. There could be snakes, there could be, warthogs that have got sharp tusks that could go after them, so they try and avoid the termite mounds or going inside them and rather just use it as a wind block to lie next to. No tracks there. Back towards the Mulawati and then just do this little section that we didn't do and try and see if he didn't head that way. And if nothing there, then I'm going to take Elephant Skull. If nothing on Elephant Skull, check Weaver's Nest, and hopefully by then we will have realized whether he's here or not and if he's left that block. If he hasn't left that block, we'll try and find him. But while we do that, let's go back to Brent Leo Smith, who's driving into the sunrise of the Mara, and hopefully it's a little bit less windy.
Morning, and welcome to the magnificent Mara. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Fergus on camera, and we are going to see what we can find. It is an absolutely gorgeous morning here. The vistas in the early morning here, provided it's not raining, are absolutely spectacular. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you've got any questions for us. And not sure what our plan is. We're just going to see what happens as we wander through this wildlife wonderland. Now, while I was sitting up a little bit higher, I heard some lions roaring down below, so we'll see if we can find them first. But I think I'm thinking I'm going to look for rhino this morning. I haven't seen a black rhino in quite some time, so I'm going to meander around these little forests down below Angama and see if we can find that newborn, well, not so newborn, about a month and a half now, old little black rhino calf. And of course, you never know what's going to be around, so we might find some spectacular birds, some spectacular cats, some spectacular elephants. Now, of course, the question is at the moment, where is the migration? Now, the migration's quite spread at the moment. I know they're outside of the reserve, up to the north of us, and I went all the way down south to the Tanzanian border yesterday to check if there were any milling about in the Serengeti. Alas, none. I know there's quite a lot towards the Sand River, Kikarok area, so I think this afternoon one of us will definitely head out in that direction, but at the moment, the triangle itself devoid of large numbers of wildebeest. You see the odd lost one going there, running around, waiting for a lion to pick it off. I see I think there's some lions up ahead. I see some vehicles congregated, and it's about where we heard them roaring earlier this morning. So in this area, most likely, if it is the ladies, to be the Angama pride, and it could be one of the triangle boys as well, the males. So we'll see. Now, I was chatting to Jamie. She said, well, just before we went on leave, it looked like the triangle boys had been in a proper scrap, a proper box-up with other male lions. And having a look at the Bila Shaka boys, those 6 males on the other side of the river, not far from here, the other night, it looks like they've also been fighting with lions. Now, even though they are quite young, they could definitely try assert dominance over even older males, just because there are 6 of them, and it's such a formidable force. And watching them together the other night, you can see there's actually very strong bonds. So normally in a coalition of 6 males, you might have some that are not from the same natal pride. Now, what I think is going to make the Bila Shaka boys such a strong coalition going forward is the fact that they're all from the same natal pride. They are from 3 different females, 3 different ages, ranging from just under 4 to about 2 years old. So they have grown up together, and that is a really, really good sign in terms of forming a coalition. So the bonds that a lot of coalitions have to make, because a lot of coalitions are unrelated, they've got to start from scratch. Those 6 boys have already got those tight bonds. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if they move from the marsh, if they come into the triangle, or if they push south into Musketeer territory. Morning, a case dismissed. Case dismissed is wondering, when will the migration start coming back? Now, if I could speak wildebeest, I'd tell you, but unfortunately I don't. So the thing is, normally they follow the rain around, except at the moment it's been raining everywhere. So I think I'm probably going to be completely wrong. I think before the end of the month, we might get some of the migration back in the triangle. I might be completely wrong, and they might head straight to Tanzania. Tanzania still isn't getting as much rain as the Mara, and with that, I'm hoping that means the migration is going to stay a little bit longer in the Mara before heading south to the Serengeti. But of course, who are we to know? And the interesting thing is that every single year the movements are slightly different. And Steph was telling me, he was chatting to the head warden of the triangle, and it was saying in recorded history, this is the earliest that all the wildebeest have vacated the Mara Triangle. So, I mean, that's a good probably 40, 50 years of data, and this is the earliest that they've ever left this area, which means they might come back. They might not, and that's the amazing thing about here. Everyone, or human beings, we like to put things in boxes, have set rules and stuff like that. And the one thing you have to remember out in the African wildlife, there is no set rules. It could change at any second. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of this year unfolds with the movement of the migration. I'm hoping they come back. Who knows? Now, let us have a look. There should be lions around here somewhere. This is the area where we heard them roaring away. And I see one of the Game Scout, the Mara gets an incredible amount of tourists every year, and 99% of the people behave wonderfully, but there's always that 1% who let everyone down. Okay, now I'm going to go have a chat with the ranger, see if we can find out where exactly those kitty cats were roaring are. If not, hopefully where the rhino are. While we do that, it seems like Madam McCurdy is on a mission.
I'm always on a mission, Brent, whether it's searching for coffee in the kitchen or the last block of chocolate. And sometimes also looking for lions, and that's what we're doing now, is looking for lions. Where are you? Now, Jamie had the sausage street right somewhere around here. I can't see them just yet. Hang on, is that a carcass over there? Let's just have a little stretch. There seems to be a lot of movement from vehicles. Grass a little bit flat. I see some more tracks over here. But it's just so difficult, especially if they're cats that are full and have got massive swollen beach bellies. Then, you know, if they're lying in this long grass, it's almost virtually impossible to spot them. But we'll keep looking, and from what I understood, it sounded like they were almost finished their carcass, so they might not even be here. What I'd like to do though is see if there are any remains. Although out here it's hard because there's so many hyena around, and they were making such a noise. Actually, that was my alarm clock this morning, so I heard the hyenas giggling and whooping, making all the strange sounds that hyenas normally make, followed by the screams of an elephant that echoed down into the valley, which was terrifying, which actually made me jump to my feet. So I don't know if it was the hyenas that had maybe upset an elephant cow with a youngster, and she was just not happy with him. But yes, that was a nice way to wake up this morning. Definitely made me wake up quite quickly. I suspect that these cats must have moved, because I don't see them around here, and Jamie dropped a pin in this area. I haven't been able to spot anything at all. Hang on, what have we got over there? No, that's just... is that a tree or a lion's head? One, very difficult to tell. Probably a tree. Yep, so good at spotting different colored leaves, it's unbelievable. Right, so that's not something where we need to go. Ooh, now, Robin, you're wondering why this is very morbid for so early in the morning. My goodness, all of a sudden I'm depressed. Why do animals eat other animals while they're still alive? Well, let me give an example. Wild dogs would literally, an entire pack would just grab hold of any part of whatever they'd caught and rip it. And it's quite violent, but it's the most effective way of feeding, because the thing that lions do and leopards do by suffocating their prey, even cheetah, it's a little bit of a problem, because you run the risk of that animal obviously panicking and desperately trying to get away, a hoof to the face, a horn, you know, there's a risk of being injured while you're taking on your prey. So sometimes it's easier just to start biting and pulling. Also then the animal starts to bleed, the more blood that the animal's losing, and die of shock quicker. So there's all these different types of techniques of hunting. So even though it might seem savage and macabre to us, it really isn't. It's just how the animals know what to do. That's what they do. They have to kill something, whether they suffocate it and wait for it to die, or they just tear it apart. Or sometimes hyena, I've seen footage of hyenas when they're taking down buffalo. They just start tearing chunks out, making this animal lose blood until eventually it's weak enough and it collapses to the ground. And they don't even really bother killing it. They really just will eat an animal alive. It's just one of those things, I suppose. It's very effective. Not, I wouldn't do that though. But I'm also not a lion, hyena and a wild dog, and I don't really think they care for my opinion, to be honest. They just do what needs to be done. I think the sausage tree pride, I think they've moved. Otherwise you would have seen their little, you know, the young cubs' curious heads poking through the grass. I always get quite excited when the vehicles come around. So what we might do, we've checked towards the escarpment. We haven't seen anything down there. So I don't really know where to go from here. My next plot sort of move is going to be to try and find a road. Now, Olivia, you're wondering if the Savo or the lions of Savo ever roam as far as the Mara. I've never been up there before. I don't know if there's actually any fences in between or not. That's a destination I definitely like to go and visit. So if there's no fences, maybe, but lions don't normally move around that much other than young male lions trying to set up shop somewhere for the first few years of their life, you know, once they've been kicked out of the pride. It's very tough for them, and there's many other males that have got, you know, their big territories, and if they are found within those territories, they either get chased out if they're lucky or killed. So you might find young males dispersing very far away from their homeland, but that's quite normal. But whether they would travel those distances, Savo, if I'm not mistaken, is not anywhere near Mara. I don't think it's particularly close, but I'll have to look on my maps. Maybe I have a map here, but we need to just find some lions first, and then we'll start going through a couple of those things. So we'll get back to that. We'll definitely get back to that. Yeah, I don't know where these cats have gone. I'm also not surprised though. They move around quite a bit. Oh, sorry, I have to concentrate, because if I don't look around me, I'm going to drive straight past the cats. That's the most important thing out here. Obviously not tracking animals like we do in the Sabi sand, but actually focusing and making sure that you spot. I find after game drives I'm a lot more tired than I am in Djuma, just because my eyes and my mind is constantly focusing on scanning. You don't realize how tired you are, and I often have guests say that. They say, oh, I've done absolutely nothing on being on safari other than eat, drink, laugh and spot animals, but I'm exhausted. You don't realize how hard you're actually focusing on trying to find things. Okay, but we're going to try and find lions, so I'm going to send you back to Tristan, who seems to be having a little less luck than he's normally used to.
Well, Taylor, we'll see about that. The morning is young and time is on our side, and we will find something. I'm sure of it. We just got to put our minds to it and put out the positive vibes, and hopefully we will have something. I see we did find tracks for the Styx Pride, but they went into Torchwood, so that was unfortunate. But apparently they were moving around all over the place last night, because apparently the guys said they had tracks Gowrie Main, Chitwa, Torchwood, Weirtella, or Djuma should we say, and then even down towards a net. So the Styx Pride was on the move last night, that's for certain. Now whether there was any Birminghams with them, I'm not quite sure, but it seems as though it was just the three females tracks that I saw. Frank, you're saying, is it easier or harder for the animals in the rainy season? Harder for the cats, because animals, all the prey animals, feed and get a lot of nutrition, which means that they get physically stronger and healthier, which means easier to evade predators. Also, they tend to spread a lot more. So unlike a situation where you've got now in winter where there's dry and all the animals have to go to a place where there's water, in this situation you've got a place, there's the Nkuhuma bride. Sorry Taylor, our luck is not finished yet. Yes, there's the Inkomo bride all lying in the grass. Hello Nkuhuma bride. I'm not even joking, there's the whole Nkuhuma bride spread out with two of the Birmingham males. So much fun. What are the chances that these guys would be all here? Now I'm just going to get around so we can position ourselves slightly better with the sun being where it is, but They are literally just spread all over the place. 4 females on one side, 1 female lying closer towards the Birminghams, the female with the bad back, and then the 2 Birmingham boys. Now it looks like Mfumo and Tinyo that we've got with us, so there they are. And then the rest of the Nkuhuma pride spread like a carpet across this open clearing. So isn't this wonderful? Who would have thought we would have found this lot lying out here? And they seem as though they've not really fed too much, although the one Birmingham's got a bit of a full belly, so maybe he's had something, but the rest of the pride looks fairly thin and as though they haven't eaten too much. But it can probably hear from my cap how the wind is absolutely howling, so I'm surprised that they're all lying right out in the open. But there they're all stretched out all the way along to that side. So there's the 4 females on that side, which is the bulk of them. The injured female is the one that's closest to us. She's there. Oh, that's the injured female. You can just see a little bit of that injury on the side there, unfortunately, but not looking too bad. Otherwise the rest of her body condition is fairly good, so she's at least looking still quite healthy. It's not like she's emaciated or skinny in any way, so she's looking okay. The rest of them, well, they look fairly sedate and as though they're all going to sleep, and it must be quite difficult for this pride at the moment in terms of finding food. So in terms of finding food for this many lions, especially with these sub-adults growing the size that they are, it must be quite tough to feed all of these mouths these days. So it means that these guys are going to be looking for buffalo a lot but not finding it, so they're going to have to be relying on small things like impalas and kudu and nyala and those kind of things just to sustain themselves until buffalo do arrive back in this area. Now, I believe some of you are saying that we have all the luck and that we are the cat whisperers. Well, no, I don't think so. Like I say, it's this time of the year. It's always the silly season around the dry period, and this is why I love September, October. I always say it's my favorite time of the year, and the reason why is this, was because it's typically at the driest point, but we're getting the warmer temperatures, which means we don't have to stress too much about getting cold, although today it is fairly cold. But the cats come out, and all the animals do, because it's so dry. They all have to congregate around certain areas, and that makes it then much easier for us to find them. So I'm just lucky at the moment, that's all. I think it's Senzo and Seb that bring all the luck. I just drive where they tell me to. But everybody is looking very sedate. But there is a lot of blood on their faces. They did get something. So if you look at the female that's actually got the injury, so Tinyo, you can see his belly's quite full. But if you look at the female's mouth that's got the injury, if we go tight in there, it looks like there's blood on that muzzle. There we go. You can see that sort of reddish smudge that she's got. So they definitely caught something last night. What it was is anyone's guess. Is not really full bellies. So I think they must have had something relatively small. It also looks like Tinyo ate most of it in that whole feeding process, because his belly is the biggest of them all. Mr. P and lots of others want to know how, or what I think and how she got injured. Addressed this the other day. I'm not sure. She went into the Kruger Park and have no idea. And one of my friends that is here at the moment, he's a vet, and we were chatting about it last night as to what the wound could have been caused by. And he's even not sure himself. He was thinking maybe a buffalo, but there's no hole there that would define a buffalo's horn, so it's difficult to say. But either way, whatever it was got hold of her, and then it either ripped up and pulled a chunk off, so it could have been something like a lion or a hyena, but there's no other sort of defensive wounds on her body, so there's no bite marks around her legs or even along her spine area, so difficult to say what exactly has caused it. Could have been a buffalo that, like I said, got to her. It could have been lions, it could have been hyenas. There's so many different causes of that, but she'll be alright. Like I said, it looks really bad, and it looks pretty gross, and as though she's going to have a tough time of it, but you will be surprised just how resilient wild animals are and how they're able to survive with this. In fact, a friend of mine that is the vet was telling me last night about a wild dog that they treated that had lost pretty much its entire right face right hand side of its face, so there was no skin, there was no ear or anything. And he said within 3 months, if you looked at that cat, that wild dog, you would be completely shocked as to how well it recovered. The skin all grew back and the dog itself was fine. Other than the lost eye, it was actually okay. So I think she'll be alright. It's really dried up quite a bit, which is a good thing. As soon as we start to see that drying effect like that, it means that the healing process is just starting to happen, and I'm pretty sure she'll be okay. But I don't know if you can hear that, just how hard this wind is blowing today. It is not that pleasant at all. The wind is really howling through this area. I wonder if this is where the Nkuhuma Pride is going to spend the day. I would have imagined them not to have been so out in the open with the wind, but maybe given the fact that they're all in an absolutely flat position, they're kind of underneath the wind, so to speak, and so maybe it's a lot better where they are. And if there does get a little bit of sun, which I don't think we're going to get too much of, it seems the front is starting to arrive now, there's clouds that are coming, then they will at least enjoy a bit of warm sun on them. So I reckon this is where we'll find the Nkuhuma Pride this afternoon. It's still sleeping in this area, and won't it be wonderful to come and spend some time with them this evening and hope that they all start to roar? Because if the two boys are here, they might roar, and that might trigger everybody else roaring. I don't know, have we ever had the little sub-adults roaring? Certainly not since I've been here have I even heard them make a peep. So it would be nice to see if the boys would bring out the roars in our little sub-adults and see if they can actually make a bit of noise. Right, our Nkuhuma Pride and Birmingham are as sleepy could be, but we will spend some time with them. I'm thinking maybe if it starts to warm up, they might pop their heads up, but I believe Brent is out in full force and has found lions of his own to complete a lion trifecta.
Well, welcome back, and it seems the lions that were making all the noise this morning are the Angama Pride. So here they are, quite spread out, directly below Angama and Final Control, and they seem to be listening to some zebras making some noise. So who knows? I'm trying to see how hungry they are. Not too hungry. Well, the cubs look relatively well fed, and the ladies are mostly flat on termite mounds. One lady has decided to sit up and have a look, and she's looking back behind us. There was a giraffe around, but it seems to have vacated the area, quite wisely so. There we go, some more lions having a snooze. So the migration has its benefits as well as its drawbacks for the lions. So when the migration is here, it's easy pickings. It's a time of plenty. But when they leave lots of short grass, which makes hunting a little bit more difficult. And I'm pretty sure that these lions have been using the forested areas or on the peripheries of them, waiting for zebra, because there's still quite a lot of zebra around, to meander a little bit too close to the thickets and then make their move from there. The sun is about to break through the clouds and give us some absolutely gorgeous light on these big cats. I think I'm going to spend a little bit more time here and see if they get moving. One lioness who's in front of us is there's a little cubby. Are you going to go stalk the zebra, mister? Looks like a young male. Starting to get a bit of fluff around his neck. I don't know if you guys can hear. You can hear the zebra in the distance.
Question, Lisa, how much has climate change affected the migration? Lisa?
Lisa is wondering how much has climate change affected the migration. I would say it hasn't really yet. The one thing you must remember with climate change, and a lot of people don't really get this, that it's a very gradual thing, and it takes a long time to see noticeable differences. Now, obviously in places like the polar ice caps, it's much easier to see those differences over a shorter period. But in an area like the Mara, I'd say the local climate has not changed too much. There was a drought this year, but we must remember droughts are normal in Africa. Most parts of Africa work on about a seven-year cycle, 7 wet years, 7 drier years, with troughs and peaks between those. So I'd say currently there hasn't been much of an effect on the Mara itself. So there we go. There's that light bursting through the clouds. So in a lot of places, the effects of climate change are only going to be seen in 20 to 30 years. A lot of it's very, very small, very, very gradual changes and over seasonally. And so it's very difficult to pinpoint something without the correct data, and that data needs to be collected over an extended period. And quite a lot of people jump to conclusions quite quickly, and I prefer to do my research before I start making any bold statements.
Question, Diana in New York. How many cubs does the Angama pride have, Diana in New York?
Hi, Diana in New York. Diana's wondering how many cubs does the Angama pride have? Now, if I remember correctly, there should be 12 in total. Some of them are quite small that have probably been left in a thicket. These are the bigger ones that are moving a little bit more with the pride. But if I remember correctly, there should be 12 cubs in total. 4 lionesses and 12 cubs. Well, oh, there we go. There's someone who's late for an extra pickup by the looks of things. I seem to be quite interested. That's what they're interested in. Let me just move for you, Ferg. I was wondering what they keep staring at. And it is a wanderer, a little wanderer who went off on a wander, all on his own. So that's what everyone's watching. It's a little lion cub coming back this way. He went off into the thickets. There we go. Where are you off to? It looks like, is it a little male or a little female? Difficult to see from this distance. As you can see, those bellies are not that empty. Oh, I think this one's got mischief in its movement. Is it going to go tackle a sibling, a cousin, an aunt, or even possibly mom? There we go. I said, yeah, you can see there was mischief in the movement. Look at that. There we go. Getting into stalk mode. You're supposed to put your ears flat, mister. The amazing thing is that when you spend enough time with these big cats, you can pick up on little nuances in their movement before they even start playing or doing something like that. You can just see there's just something in the way they move that gives away what they're about to do. And that goes the same for most animals. And we're very lucky that we get to spend as much time with them as we do. So we get to learn these little nuances. And different prides can have different little nuances. The same with elephants, and it's all reading the individual at that particular time.
When you write, you can link to Tristan with the Nkuhumas and 2 Birmingham boys.
And let's just have a look what this one up to the left is going up to a female. Are we playing, or are we just going to say hello? No, we're just saying hello. And it seems like it's a lion morning. So, wow, I think I'm going to leave the Angamas nice, fat and happy. I'm going to keep on my mission for the black rhino. So while we do that, let's go back to Tristan and the Nkuhumas.
Well, good luck on your endeavours, Brent. I hope you find those black rhinos. I believe they're pretty epic, that side, so hopefully Brent will find them. I'm sure he'll have some luck at some stage. And it has been a lion morning. I believe the Styx Pride has just been found as well on Chitwa, so theoretically we have 2 lion prides here on Djuma as well that we can access, which is fantastic news. So I believe they're sleeping in a horrible place though, so we'll just spend more time with our Inkomas. They seem to be a little bit up and down. There are some Impalas in the distance, not that they are really interested in the Impalas at all. It seems like they must have gotten something last night, because there's blood all over all of them, and they've all kind of seemed to have had a good feed. You can see where that female is watching now is where the Impalas are. They're right in the distance, so up in that area is where the Impalas are walking around. You can just see them there. But an Impala for a pride like this is really just not enough to sustain them. They need to hunt things like zebra, wildebeest, at least, for them to be able to sustain so many miles. And particularly with the 2 boys that are here, the 2 males make it a bit of a problem, because they eat so much that it makes life quite difficult. But as you can hear, the wind is still howling away. It's not exactly died down very much at all. It's still kind of gusting and blowing and really kind of giving us a hard time. It's quite actually difficult to see because of all the dust in the air. OD farming, you're wondering how many males are in the Birmingham Boy Coalition. There are 4 of them. There used to be 5 in the beginning. Unfortunately, one of them was killed by a buffalo horn to the chest, which punctured a lung and caused him to have difficulty breathing, and that left just the 4 of them. So there's Tinyo, which is the one on the left there, and Mfumo on the right, and then we've got Nena and Nsuku are the other 2. Now these 2 that you see here love to spend time around the Inkomo Pride. We see them regularly with the Inkomo Pride. Nena and Nsuku tend to bounce around. Nsuku seems to favour the Styx Pride more than anything else. You see him a lot with the Styx Pride, and Nena just bounces around. He just goes where there's food, and if there's a carcass somewhere, he's generally in that general vicinity. But interestingly enough, while we were sitting here and kind of just looking, we came around the back end just to see what this wound on this female looked like, because a lot of you are obviously concerned about it, and while it does look nasty, it will heal up, but it's just such a weird wound, and I can't work out what exactly has happened. If you have a look down the sort of bottom part of that wound, there's a scrape that comes up towards the wound, and then it looks like it's split open. So I wonder if she maybe wasn't, we were just discussing it now with the other guides, if maybe she fell out of a tree and that's what's caused this. A branch has caught her and just scraped up, because if Senzo, you just go down a little bit for me, so down underneath the wound, there you go, you see where the scrape starts, and that scrape then goes right up and then it almost splits open from there. So I mean, it could be a horn, but for a horn to get to the top of her back and then go that way would be quite difficult. So I would imagine it must have been maybe a tree that she fell out of. I don't know. It's an interesting wound nonetheless, and you can see there's a few flies there, which is okay. Maggots are not the worst thing. Maggots help to keep the wound clean, and it's also starting to dry up a bit and starting to stitch together, so she'll be okay. She's going to just be a little sore for a while, but she will be all right, and as long as she can keep feeding, she's going to be okay. Jared's buddy, you're asking if the rest of the pride will hunt for her while she's injured. Well, Jared's buddy, she's still walking around and she'll still participate in hunting. Lions are very hard animals, and the other day we saw, well, we didn't see her, but the other guys saw her walking, and they said to me that she's not limping heavily at all, so she'll participate in hunts most definitely, and definitely try and contribute to the pride's success when it comes to hunting. She's not going to hold back, and an injury like that, while it looks horrific, is pretty much a flesh wound more than anything else. It's not like Tundi and Shadow that have ligament or muscular sort of injury within their legs that makes them hobble around. This lioness, while it is sore, is still able to function completely as a hunting lioness, and she will still contribute to the pride. So it's just that it's going to be a little bit sore for a while, and she's going to probably not have as much range of movement, but as soon as she gets a bit of adrenaline kicking through her veins, she'll be able to hunt and contribute. So it's not that the pride was going to look after her, and in any case, if it was really bad that she was battling to walk, often the pride tries to to slow down a little bit, but eventually they lose patience, and because the hunger for them gets overpowering, they then leave that lioness behind, or lion behind, depending if it's a male or a female, and they carry on, and that lion's then got to fend for itself. So sometimes if the injuries are really bad, then the pride will just abandon them and leave them to do it themselves. But the fact that she's keeping up with the pride wherever they're going means that she's mobile enough that they're not too worried, and especially if they were hunting last night and she was with them, it's a very good sign that she's doing okay. I see the few cubs are rolling around now. Oh, a bit of stretching as well. Robin, you're asking if she'll get medical treatment? No, she won't. The reason why is because it's a natural injury that's occurred. So here in the Sabi Sands, the protocol is if it's caused by nature, we don't interfere, because regardless of if we were here or not, that would have happened, and this is nature's way. There's sometimes certain individuals that unfortunately will be sort of extinguished by nature, and that will be bloodlines that potentially are a little bit weaker, and so it's nature's way of kind of strongest will survive. If it was caused by people, so if there was some sort of injury by a human, then yes, we would medically treat it, but that injury there is natural from what we know. Obviously that it happened inside the Kruger Park, but where it would have happened is way away from any of the public roads or anything like that, so the chances of a car hitting her or something like that is pretty much zero. Like I say, where she was is in the middle of a block that there is no access for tourism at all. It's just a wilderness area of the Kruger Park, and so she couldn't have really gotten it from people. I would imagine it's more from a situation that she, like I say, a natural thing, maybe either falling out of a tree or a buffalo or some sort of wild animal that's got hold of her, which is not going to be great. Now, I believe that our lions, while they are very sedate and stationary and sleepy, bar a couple of the cubs that are grooming themselves, Brent's lions, on the other hand, are mobile and moving, so let's see what they're going to get up to.
Well, as we were about to leave the Angamas, some of them started moving. Let's have a look a little bit to the left there. I think we might get a nice little greeting. There's Lioness walking up towards the others. There we go. No, here we go. Maybe some playing. What I think's happening now is actually heading towards those thickets that I said they've been using to hunt. And they're going to lie up in the shade and hope that the zebras come towards them. So how many cubs do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That means that the two smallest ones are being hidden at the moment in the thickets back where they've come from. Now you will hear some vehicle noise around us at the moment, so there are other cars coming to enjoy the gorgeous Angama pride. As I said, they are heading all into the thickets, where they're going to probably spend the rest of the day. I think it's going to be quite a warm day today on the Mara standards. So as the last, or almost the last, there's a couple more still at the back. But everyone is on their way to the shade. And you can see Angama up on the top right there.
Due to habitat loss, Olivia?
Oof, that is a very good question from Olivia. Olivia would like to know, will lions reach their genetic bottleneck due to habitat loss? Now, that is an excellent question. Now, I've spoken quite a lot about cheetah reaching their genetic bottleneck about 10,000 years ago. Now, lions' genetics are quite a lot more robust than cheetah, so it is far less likely. Also, there are, in a lot of cases, populations that are able to move. So this is a very good example of a very healthy lion genetic area, because the animals are able to move from the Serengeti into the Mara and back and forth, and even from the conservancies. So we do get quite a lot of movement of lion genetics in this area. Now, in other parts of Africa, there is that possibility, but it'll rather be local extinctions of a certain genetic strain. However, with human beings at the moment, we are able to transplant lions into other areas to get new genetics. So in a lot of the fenced private reserves in places like Zimbabwe and South Africa, after a certain amount of years, the dominant males are removed and taken somewhere else, and other males are brought in, and that's to ensure that the genetic diversity of those lions stays healthy. So that's an excellent question. But even so, lions, as I said, have are far more robust than cheetah. Lions are able to inbreed for up to about 5 generations without any adverse effects happening to the lions. So it's quite interesting. Now, being a social cat, they've got a far more complex social structure than cheetah do. And in doing so, the reason they have that ability to inbreed for a few generations, where a lot of other animals don't, is due to the fact if you have a coalition like those Bilashaka boys, 6 male lions, they're likely to stay up at the top of a pride when their first set of daughters come into estrus. So they'll mate with their daughters, and lions have evolved to be able to handle that sort of level of inbreeding. So it is very, very interesting. So there we go. Last of the 2 cubs heading towards the trees. So the girls were looking quite hungry, but the cubbies have definitely scoffed their weight in whatever meat mom and aunts have provided. So I think the lions have a very good tactic at the moment, and you get quite a lot of general game moving through this area. As the cubs keep moving through to the forest. If we look a little bit further ahead of us, there's a lot of zebra in the distance off. So there we go, Ferg, right about there. Lots of zebra, and they will more than likely move through this area and possibly come close to the lions. You'll just start to see the little spots. There they are. Some zebra and some topi and the odd wildebeest. There's not many wildebeest around, and you can see they're already slowly heading down towards this area. But of course, patience is key when it comes to these things. And there we go. What else we got there? Zebra, the odd wildebeest, and there's lots of warthog in this area as well. So the last 3 lions are up. Styles is wondering how do the cubs know to stay behind when the lionesses are hunting? Well, Styles, the lionesses can be quite forceful. A well-aimed growl and the occasional swat around the ears is enough to know for the cubs to learn. But they will communicate. The females will make it very apparent that the cubs need to stay, generally with growls and snarls. Has the last cub? Was it the little wanderer from earlier? It's going to get hot if they stay out, yeah? So there we go, the last cub. There's still 2 adult lionesses lying out in the open. Now, they might lie amongst the little bushes and hope for zebras to come round. And of course, if the lionesses are spread out, it does give them a better opportunity to possibly snag a striped donkey. Yeah, well, the lions move into the shade. I think I definitely might come follow up on them this afternoon, and maybe as we get into the low light, the crepuscular hours, these lions might get on the hunt. I think for most of the day they're going to be resting, so we're going to move on our rhino mission. While we do that, let's see if Madam McCurdy has managed to find something.
We've given up on the sausage tree pride, so David and I have now got a new mission. Is I would like to try and find Scar if he's around, and we just bumped into a very interesting character who gave us some information and said that there's a mating pair of lions near the Serena airstrip, somewhere in that direction. And then he also proceeded to say something about a toilet and wildebeest, but I didn't quite understand what that was about. Actually, let's go all the way around. So it was quite funny. So that's where we're going now. We're not too far away, but we're still far away, if that makes any sense. And hopefully we'll find some lions. There's been quite a few hyenas sort of scattered around these areas, though I have seen them often when we come around here. So there must be a den somewhere that they're all living at. But they sadly did not lead us to the lions, which David was actually hoping for, to make our jobs a bit easier. Did you just do a classic one of those? Right, so we come down, the Mara River is just down and to the left of us. I really like this road, and I also come down here often and hope to see the bat-eared foxes again that we got to see very early one morning. It was still dark. We had a brief glimpse of them. Hello, well spotted, David. I'm too busy presenting. It's the only problem when you do present, you stop focusing on what's actually going on around you. It is a big problem. We're not going to stay too long with these jackals. Okay, let's play a game very quickly. I know we've got a long delay. What type of jackals do we have here? Hashtag Safari Live with your answers. There's only 2 species that occur in this area. Let's see who can get it right. It's quite easy, this one, especially the framing that David's got now. It should be quite a simple one for you, and I'll give you a clue. It gives it away in the name of the animal. But just basking and enjoying the morning light. They've obviously been very busy running around trying to scavenge off carcasses, or maybe they did a little bit of hunting, looking for rodents. They look tired. They're actually quite lean, but, you know, other than seeing the odd leopard, cheetah, and lion, or hyenas, or I've never seen a thin hyena before, with, you know, big swollen bellies. Jackals don't really get like that. They're quite sort of streamlined, fit, almost like, you know, dogs. When you see dogs running around, feral dogs, they're never particularly obese. You can always see their muscles. Sometimes you can often see just a few of their ribs, which is normal. I reckon if you had to shave a jackal, they'd be quite lean. But they're not big animals, and they don't need to eat a huge amount. And I was just trying to think, so I always talk about the Eastern Cape in South Africa because, of course, I worked there for so long and that's where I'm from. And we know in the Sabi sand that the fruit that the jackals like to eat. So this is one of the few animals that can actually change their diet completely from being a carnivore to just eating fruit when times are harsh. How amazing is that? So I'll get to the answers in a minute. So basically the various jackals will be able to eat jackalberry fruits, of course, in the Sabi sand, and then down in the Eastern Cape of South Africa they absolutely loved to eat the common star apple fruits. And I wonder what fruits they would eat up here. Maybe the dates from the Balanites aegypticus, maybe? Okay, Chantal, I'm ready for I'm ready for the answers, not my answers. I know which jackal this is. Let's see who gets it right. Woohoo! And first 2 answers are correct from Roshni and Stanley. You've said these are a pair of black-backed jackals. You are quite correct. So you can see that stripe very, very easily. A little bit of sort of silver hair. Well, not silver, it's grey, but I like to look at them. Give them a bit, you know, zhuzh it up a little bit, but fast asleep. So you're quite right. The side-striped jackals, to me, look like they've been through the wash. They're quite grey in colour and are a little bit more robust than the than the black-backed jackal. So that's quite nice. So maybe they have a den somewhere around here. Who knows? But we can't off-road here, so I'm not going to be able to find this one for you. But very cool. Let's keep moving on. We have got a mission. Well, the question from Dr. Rob wondering about if jackals howl. I don't know if you can call it a howl, because the sound that comes out of the jackals, it can be terrifying. I'm not going to try and do it now. Actually, maybe Brent will be able, and Tristan will be able to do good jackal calls. So, I wish I had a clip on my phone to you to give you an accurate description. Maybe I'll try and search for one when I go off air. We'll have a look, so I can see if I can pick up anything from YouTube or the interweb. So it's like a scream slash howl slash something else. It's a bizarre noise. The black-backed jackals are typically a lot more vocal than the side-striped jackals. I've only ever heard side-striped jackals making alarm calls and sort of calling throughout the night every now and then, whereas, like I said, the black-backed jackals, oh, they love a good chat, constantly talking. Oh, sorry. So we're going to check a couple of the river crossings, and also we're just going to follow this road and see what we can find around here. I'm going to send you back across to the Sabi sand with Tristan, and don't forget to beg and plead for him to do a black-backed jackal call.
Why would I want to do a black-backed jackal call? In fact, it's so long since I've seen a black-backed jackal call, I can't even remember how they sound. I remember Steph for a time had the black-backed jackal call as his ringtone on his cell phone. Every 5 minutes he used to hear this jackal calling in camp, and it was quite some. Used to get people every now and then. But back to our Nkuhuma pride, it's quite interesting just to see how they're all kind of clustering together. I think they're all getting a little cold, particularly the cubs. They've all started moving towards the females, and now it's just one big carpet of lions all together. The youngest female with her cubs is here, so she is around, but she doesn't have the cubs obviously nowhere to be seen. So I don't know if she's moved them or if they're still back where we saw them the other day near Mfumo Road, but it seems as though she's been with the pride and has moved around. But she seems to be sporting a little injury on her ear, which is obviously fighting around a carcass. That is exactly what we see from lions when they are on smallish carcasses with such a number of mouths to feed. So you'll have a situation where they slap at each other with claws and bite, and then you get these little injuries around the ears and head area. There's still a little bit of grooming going on, lots of blood all over them that they need to get rid of, so you'll find they'll groom quite a lot now just to get those coats into better shape again. Blood and things congeals the coat and it makes it all full of mess, and so they hopefully will just get rid of all of that. And that's why there's been quite a bit of grooming happening over the last little bit. You can see one is being groomed nicely and is absolutely loving it to our right hand side. This little female does that not look like the picture of absolute Sunday morning bliss for that lion? Is being groomed lovely by look at that. How cool is that? And head passed out, like I say, Sunday morning grooming. Campy, you're asking if lions are afraid of any animals. Well, yes, they're afraid of other lions. Young lions by themselves, or even females by themselves, will be quite nervous of clans of hyenas. Elephants also will chase lions all the time, so they get chased a lot by them. So there's quite a few animals that lions are a bit nervous of. Even, you know, things like rhinos as well. You'll have a situation where they will back away and get off that area. So they are nervous of those bigger animals and will very seldom take them on. But other than that, that's about it. They're certainly not scared of any of the antelope species, and things like leopard and wild dog and cheetah are no worry for them. So it's just other lions, hyenas, and the really big mega herbivores that we get out here in this area. But just other lions is enough to keep them busy and to keep them working. It's tough when you've got other lions around. It makes life quite difficult. You can see one female is just moving off, so she's going to go rub up on Amber Eyes, which is going to be interesting to see how Amber Eyes reacts. So she's been alright, that's okay. So you may be wondering why I know that's Amber Eyes. She had her head up just now and I could see nicely that she has those amber coloured. Sabrina, you're asking if lions eat people. Yes, the Nkuhuma pride is very fierce. They have consumed a number of people in their time. No, I'm just kidding. Lions do eat people, and there has been many a reported case of man-eating lions. So I think earlier Taylor was discussing the man-eaters of Savo, or the Savo lions, and so there was very famous males in that area. That killed a whole bunch of people, and then there's been lions in Tanzania and lions all over the place that have gone after people. Even here in Kruger, there's been a number of lions that have killed people. At the end of the day, they're big predators, they're meat eaters, and a lot of the time when they've had incidents with lions eating people, it's either been old individuals or sick individuals that are battling to hunt other species, or it's people that have been silly enough to do stupid things around lions and end up getting right in between them, and that causes them to get attacked. And once you have a situation where a lion grabs onto somebody, even if it's just trying to defend itself, and it tastes that blood and realizes that this could potentially be food, then you'll find that they will start to do it more often, and it becomes almost learned behavior to hunt down people. So there is a very real risk of being eaten by lions. In fact, there was somebody that was eaten by lions here in the Sabi Sands at Chitwa airstrip. So there was one of the trackers was eaten by lions there, and which was quite a while ago. That was about, I'm trying to remember now, it was 2001, I think, somewhere around there. But it was a long time ago already. But it does happen. There's most certainly, these things do take place, and lions, like I say, are the apex predator out there, so you've got to be careful around them. Luckily though, most of the lions that we have here in the Sabi Sands are very used to the vehicles and very used to even people on foot, because they get tracked and they see people on foot from a young age, but those people don't chase them, hurt them, don't get so close as to be able to become food, and they're not taught to hunt them by their moms. So most of our lions here are a little bit more relaxed than some other areas. You find a lot of the time where there's conflict with lions is generally where people are very aggressive to them and hunt them or try and kill them, or it's a situation where they've taken over vast tracts of land and they've left the lions with very little and nowhere to go and hunt, and so the lions are running out of food items, and then they start coming into places where they'll start killing people. So, but the bottom line is, yes, they do eat people if they can get hold of them, because at the end of the day, they're a predator and we are meat, and so they don't differentiate between us or an antelope in terms of once they've got us in between their paws. We're essentially the same thing as meat and bone. Right, I think what we'll do is we'll probably sit a little bit longer with these lions. It's the sun's starting to come out. The two Birmingham boys just now are shifting a little bit. They're sleeping again now, but hopefully they'll get up. And while we do that, let's go back to another set of lions with Taylor McCurdy in the Mara.
So we found ourselves along the Mara River, as I was telling you earlier, and we came around the corner, and look who we've spotted. Way in the distance, two lioness sitting very quietly amongst some rocks. So Darby seems to think it's probably the lionesses from the Paradise Pride. He knows them better than I do. I don't think I've seen the Paradise Pride yet, although I have seen three lionesses, you might remember, quite close to Hippo Pools. So I wonder if it's not maybe the same girls. Wouldn't surprise me. We're not particularly far away, and they would definitely stretch their range from that area to up here. There's just the two of them. I can't see any more. Now, how amazing is it though, listening to the water as well. So I'm just going to sit very quietly for 2 seconds. You all bet you were wondering what on earth that noise was. Well, that was the black-backed jackal howl scream thing that they do. So you can hear why I didn't really want to attempt to make that noise. It's a bizarre sound, and I wonder if Tristan gave it a go. I'm not sure if he did, or if he got my request passed on that I issued him a challenge. And Tristan loves a good challenge. He never says no. He's a great participant. It makes me nervous because then I don't know what he'll issue me back. But you know, I'm all game for it. You can't dish it out if you're not willing to take it. And these girls seem fairly relaxed for the moment, for now, and anything could happen. Obviously this is an area, lots of crossings happen around here. I can't really see any wildebeest around. There's some antelope behind, not antelope, there's Impala, and then there's some gazelles, and there's Thompson's gazelles behind us. You won't be able to see them. Unfortunately, they're parked directly behind the car, but that's on this side of the river. Now I highly doubt that these girls, oh, she's up now, are going to swim across the river to try and catch a Thompson's gazelle when there'll most certainly be more animals on their side. There are a few buffalo hanging on the banks again, but on our side. Let's see what she's going to do. Maybe she's going to come down for a drink, or she's going to move closer to the river thicket. It is getting hot. I'm actually going to have to take my scarf off now. Let me do that quickly. And just find a nice shady spot and hang around. It's good if you lie amongst those trees and animals start to come around you. They're never going to know that you're there. You'll be so camouflaged. So it could be a good opportunity. They look in great condition, you know, not too fat. It doesn't look like they've eaten, you know, anything this morning, but definitely over the last few days they've gobbled up something. So just going over there, so I suspect they've gone to lay in the shade. That's possibly what's happening. I don't think it will be too long before this other lioness follows her. They both look like they had fairly tattered ears. You lost the lines. Oh, there we go. Just have a look. It's exceptionally far away though, so it does make it quite difficult. She's staring, like she's focused on that other lioness. Now, a question from Brenda about the migrations. You're wondering if the crossings for the season have finished. Well, in this area it seems like it has. However, if you go down to the Masai Mara National Park, so we're basically on the other side of this river, we're seeing massive herds between Talek and Kikarok, which are sort of two areas within the Masai Mara National Reserve, and we saw a couple of 100,000 wildebeest. So there's definitely still chances they can cross. They've got to cross the Mara River if they want to go towards Tanzania, and they've got to cross the Talek. So there's many different rivers that they still need to get through. You remember yesterday morning we were actually sitting, we were watching, we saw a couple of zebra up in front and quite a large herd of wildebeest wanting, and looked like they were going to cross. Whether they did or not, I'm not too certain. We didn't get to go that side. It's very far away from the triangle. It's about an hour's drive to get down to that side. So I don't think so. And then I heard that there were quite a few herds in the northern conservancies of sort of the Mara area. So there's still a chance that they could come back this way, and we might see some more action. Like Brent was saying, he says this is the earliest in history that the wildebeest have moved off. We have had lots and lots of rain everywhere though, so who knows what happens. The reserves are looking beautiful at the moment, lush green. I mean, this is, like I always like to describe this is what it's like in summer in the Sabi sand. I mean, our winters are very, very harsh for the animals. I think life must be quite tough in terms of trying to find food versus the animals finding food up here. There's grass wherever you look, and there's leaves on all of the trees. And she still sits. She hasn't decided if she's heading across just yet. And that's fine. If she's quite happy to enjoy the morning sun, then she can sit out there. She can do whatever she wants. But there's no prey around here, so I don't think that these cats are going to do too much other than just rest up. So I think what we're going to do, we'll probably carry on and continue with our mission to try and find Scar. Go that way. Go and have a look. We'll keep following this road and just checking. You never know what else we might find. So I'm going to send you back across to Brent, who is on a bumble looking for... Okay, never mind. Darby, will you watch your coffee cup? Darby and I were having a coffee. Never mind. Brent has not got comms at the moment. So we'll carry on. this again. We'll keep bumbling and hopefully find, of course, the cats we want to see. Let's go to Brent and see if he's managed to find that wee baby rhino he was telling you all about.
Well, unfortunately not. We are looking in the right area on the peripheries of the forest. I have seen some rhino tracks, but they're a little bit old. And I've been checking all the woolly caper bushes, which is a rhino's favorite food here. And you can actually almost see the ones that the rhino prefer. Now, black rhino have a very distinct, where do you want it, Ferg? Right there. A very distinct feeding pattern. So with the way their teeth cut through, and you can see this is a bit old, they always cut the little branches at about 45 degrees. So that's how you know if a rhino has been feeding on a branch. So this is a little branch of a woolly caper bush, and you can see that beautiful little kink, that 45-degree angle. And as I said, you can see the ones that they really like, because they are munched down, and then obviously with the 45-degree angle. So you see these two little caper bushes here have been heavily fed on by rhino. So we're in the right area. I haven't found any really fresh feeding sign yet, but she hasn't been down towards the river in an aptly named little patch of forest called Nkuhuma, which basically means home of the rhino. So if she's not down there, and there's it's a much smaller patch of forest, much easier to get around in, or drive around to see if they're there. It means she's probably in this bigger sheeny forest that we're driving along the edge of. So we were just pretty much 100% opposite where we are now, with the Angama pride, and they were heading into the edge of this forest, but we're just going to keep moving around and hoping that our rhino luck is good today. Morning, Jan. Jan would like to know, what is the current rhino population in the Mara? Jan, there's between 30 and 40 black rhino in the Mara currently, and they do move between Kenya and Tanzania, so they do go into the Serengeti. In this little top part of the Mara Triangle, there's about now with the new edition, I think there's 13 rhino in this section here around these forests. Some of them you don't see very often, so they're quite skittish and they run away quite quickly. I've seen a big male who really doesn't like people up in this area as well, so he sort of hangs around in this forest up towards the escarpment. But there's females and young males here that move down and up towards the river. Now along the river, in the riverine area, that's where the remaining of the rhino are, and of course it's a protected area. There are no roads going into that forested area, so that's why we don't see them too often, and that's why they can be a little bit skittish. They're not used to vehicles. Now, the other thing we might find around here is leopards while we drive along the edge of the forest, and of course as we move further down the escarpment we might get lucky with the sausage tree pride. While we keep moving, let's go across to Tristan to see how our wounded Nkuhuma is getting on.